on greatlakesnow.org. Good morning. Thanks so much for joining us as we start a very busy day 2 here of Great Lakes Week. Healing Our Waters, their sessions are going to be starting today as well. And the big headline today is that former Vice President Al Gore will be speaking here at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So make sure you either keep your TV on or keep your computers powered up so you can catch that, and we'll be broadcasting that live for you today. Joining me right now is Gary Wilson. He's a commentator for the Great Lakes Echo. And Gary, also been described by your own publication as curmudgeonly and
yes.
cranky guy, but we're glad you're here with us today. He's kind of guiding us through Great Lakes Week a little bit. Cranky in a good way.
A good cranky.
Lovable cranky,
yes,
right?
Yes.
But you're joining us, and we've been talking a lot. We talked yesterday about how everything got underway and what a great boon it was for everyone to actually be finally in the same place, talking about the same things, all of these different groups. But I want to talk about the former vice president coming here today and
yes.
what signal that sends to the country.
I think it sends a big signal. You know, I have good friends on the East Coast in New York and the West Coast in California. And after all these years, we're still considered kind of the flyover area. And when I first started getting involved in Great Lakes issues, they go, well, that's nice. You know, those polluted...
That's nice for you.
Yes, good. You know, those polluted lakes. But through the efforts of a lot of people, including everybody here, they've made a lot of progress. But they're still not quite on the national radar. And I think Al Gore, lending his name to this conference and to these events, will go a long way to saying, hey, gee, Al Gore is a big guy in environmental issues, and he took his time and lent his name to this conference and to these problems. That's a good thing.
And because we did talk briefly about the fact that there is not a governor presence here. We don't have any of the governors from any of the 8 states in the surrounding Great Lakes Basin here. But to have the former vice president who is out in front on climate change issues, wherever you fall on those issues, and putting his attention on the Great Lakes.
I think it's fantastic, and my message to the governors would be, gee, Al Gore is from Tennessee, and he found his way here, so where are the governors? No, I just think it's really good. And, you know, there are strong opinions in Al Gore. You know, we love him and we hate him all at the same time sometimes, but the fact that he's lent his name to this conference is just a huge positive for the conference and for Detroit.
I think we also can step back and we look at Great Lakes Week, and we know that there are the federal agencies here and the state agencies, the environmental groups that are all joining here together. And what can we do, I guess, to get more of the message out about what's happening in the Great Lakes, and so it's not that flyover. So people actually sit up and take notice and say, yeah, 20% of the world's fresh water is right here.
Yeah, you know, we have tremendous ambassadors for the region, and most of them are here at this conference. And they do a good job of spreading the word. There's a broader coalition that's just kind of forming, and it's called the Great Waters Coalition. All the regions around the country have the same problems that the Great Lakes do, and just in different forms. But this coalition, led by the National Wildlife Federation, is helping to put a spotlight on the Great Lakes. It includes Puget Sound in Washington, San Francisco Bay, Long Island Sound, the Everglades, the Chesapeake, who's actually been way out in front of all these issues, you know, beginning 20 years ago. So being part of that coalition, I think, will help the Great Lakes and the people here gain some national attention.
As we go into day 2 of these sessions, what should people at home who are just trying to get themselves up to speed on some of these issues, what should they be looking for?
Well, you know, Lisa Jackson, the EPA administrator, she spoke yesterday, and I was just reading over her comments a little earlier this morning. And she's really given cleaning up these toxic areas a high priority. But she said something else, and that was that they're really going to focus their efforts on these algae blooms and this agricultural runoff in Ohio. Now, she didn't provide a lot of specifics, so I put in a request to find out more about that. But that's a real positive. I would keep an eye on that.
And I want to talk in specifics about algae blooms in just a few minutes. But for some of you who are getting up to speed about the Great Lakes, a little bit of history about that, what I like to call a little Great Lakes 101, let's take a look.